So if you guys want to, you can come a little bit closer, just so I'm recording there.
It's just to be
anywhere over here is fine. You can be like around as well, it's up to you, don't mind. Okay, so the talk is on the Zen map to awakening, and I don't claim any authority in like Zen Buddhism. It's just something that I have been interested in the past and still find it very interesting. And it's essentially a mythopoetic description of the journey of awakening, or the stages that we go through on the spiritual path. And there's many ways to interpret these 10, what they call the 10 ox herding pictures, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So their map for awakening, their way that they describe it, is through what they call the 10 ox herding pictures. And they're 10 images, or 10 drawings or paintings, and each one signifies a certain stage or a certain process or experience that we go through in this life, in a human life. And you could compare it to the story of Jesus and the process he went through in that story. It's not necessarily about if Jesus existed or not, it's what that story represents. So the same is true with this. It's not literal, it's metaphorical, because it's talking about awakening to something that we can't really talk about. We can't put it into words. We can't truly ever draw it. You know, art and poetry try to capture the highest thing we can conceive of, but we know we can never ever. Hi Lewis, do you want to join us?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I was just introducing the talk and saying that essentially Zen Buddhism has a way of describing reality and a way of talking about the truth of a human life and the processes that we go through on that journey. And they have the 10 ox herding pictures, and they are a mythopoetic description of these stages that we go through. And that's where I got up to. And it's a very fascinating way to look at this process that we undergo as a human being, because as I was saying, we can't ever really put it into words. We can try, and it's a beautiful thing to try, but we have to understand the limitation of maps, of trying to articulate this process. So I teach it in the knowledge that we can never really speak about what we're experiencing, but we try because it helps the mind to have some understanding of the journey. If the mind didn't have an understanding, it would be very, very difficult to function. You know, if I'm sitting here speaking, the mind has to have some context, some way to experience this reality. In order to talk, you have to be engaged with the world. You know, so this map is a journey from being in the world to not being of the world, and then being of the world but not of the world at the same time. And that sounds paradoxical, but it's because reality is paradoxical, life is paradoxical. We don't just live on one dimension of reality at a time. There's multiple dimensions and unfoldings within us that isn't a linear process. So this map that I'm about to go through is not a linear journey. It will describe itself as a linear journey in these 10 pictures, but the journey is non-linear. It's not something that happens sequentially in time, because at a certain point in the journey, there's a recognition that time does not exist in the way that we commonly think it does. So these depictions are not linear depictions. They are expressions of a reality that cannot be contained, cannot be spoken about. But here we are, and I'm trying. Because it's fun, because one falls in love with the truth, one falls in love with reality, and one gives their life to reality because they love it so much. It's out of devotion. So we're going to start, and with each one, I'll talk about it I'll show you the picture and I'll hand it round so you can all take a look at it whilst I'm speaking about it. And with each one there's a little paragraph and there's a little poem. And I'll read you that text and then I'll just talk about that picture for a bit, and you can read it and look at it at your own will. So the first one is called Searching for the Ox. Okay, so these are the ox herding images. Now we have to understand what the ox represents. The ox represents consciousness or truth, or the highest thing that you can conceive of, and whatever word you attribute to that reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. So he is searching for the ox, but the ox is not anywhere to be seen. So this represents fundamental ignorance, fundamental basic unawareness of truth. So this represents, unfortunately, currently, a lot of the world. Because what we see in the world is not many people are yet open to the truth. That we are caught by a million things in this world. Video games, strip clubs, alcohol, whatever it is that takes our fancy. We are pulled by it in a million different directions. And there is no ox to be seen. He's searching, but he's not searching for the ox yet. He's searching for all the other things in the world. He hasn't found out that reality will disappoint him for his own fulfillment. So he's still searching for actually everything other than the ox at this point. Okay, so the paragraph says, "The beast has never gone astray, and what is the use of searching for him? The reason why the ox herd is not on intimate terms with him is because the ox herd himself has violated his own inmost nature. The beast is lost, for the ox herd has himself been led out of the way through his deluding senses. His home is receding farther away from him, and byways and crossways are ever confused. Desire for gain and fear of loss burn like fire. Ideas of right and wrong shoot up like a phalanx." Ideas of right and wrong shoot up. What that represents is he is caught in fundamental duality, fundamental separation, right and wrong, black and white, yes and no. There is only separation in his experience. There is no unity, or it seems to be there's no unity at this point. So I'll pass that around. There's also a little poem at the bottom, and just spend as much time as you want looking at it. See what the picture says to you. Treat it like a tarot. It might tell you other things about it, but hold it as a meditation, and I'll keep speaking about them, and just, you don't have to place the attention here, just do what you feels right. You might want to spend a lot of time with it, okay? So the second picture is seeing footprints. So he sees a trail, something to follow, but there's still no ox. So this represents when someone becomes curious about another way. They become curious that no, there's something wrong here. There must be another way. The Buddha, when he saw suffering, he said, "Why is there this suffering? Why?" In the last picture, the Buddha was in the king's palace, if you know about the Buddha story. He was in the palace. He had all the royalties of the world. He was not yet at this point seeing the footprints. When he saw the footprints, he said, "Why is there this suffering?" A deep interest in something more than this ordinary reality struck him. Okay? A lot of people at dance camp have already seen the footprints. Okay? Not everyone, we don't know, we can't really tell. But to come into a space like this, you have to be at least curious about reality. You wouldn't be here if you wasn't, because it's not a conventional place. Okay? So at this point, one becomes interested in a spiritual practice, or a certain religion takes their interest, or they try a psychedelic for the first time, or they lose a loved one. Someone loses a child and the grief cracks them open. There must be something more. But there's no way that this process happens for everyone in the same way. It happens in a different way. A different event opens us up. Often, it is always suffering. It is really always suffering that opens us up. in some way, because the world will always disappoint us for our fulfillment. So this is when we begin to turn inside. We sense that there is maybe some ox. Maybe there is. We don't know. Okay, so by the aid of the sutras and by inquiring into the doctrines, he has come to understand something. He has found the traces. He now knows that the vessels, however varied, are all of gold, and that the objective world is a reflection of the self. Yet he is unable to distinguish what is good from what is not. His mind is still confused as to truth and falsehood. He is still in duality. He is still living in a separative experience, truth and falsehood. As he has not yet entered the gate, he is provisionally said to have noticed the traces. So he's now seen the footprints, and he's curious, and he's going to follow them to see where it will take him. He does not know where it will take him because he has not seen the ox yet, but he is very curious. Okay? Now, that's very different to actually seeing the ox. This is what some people would call their first spiritual experience. It is the moment when someone truly has an internal experience of there definitely is something more. Not maybe there is something more, it is that there definitely is. So there is a certainty about the fact that there is this way out of our predicament. There is this way out of our situation. But he's only seen half of the ox. He's seen the back tail of the ox. He has not yet experienced the reality that he is looking for. He does not truly know it yet as an experience. But he sees some of it. He sees a part of it. But he has not yet grasped the fullness of the truth. He has not seen the full ox. So this is a very poignant stage in one's journey, because one becomes much more committed to this pursuit, because there's no longer footprints. I have seen something very real now. It becomes a actually obtainable reality. Okay. And this one says, the boy finds the way by the sound he hears. He sees thereby into the origin of things, and all his senses are in harmonious order. In all his activities, it is manifestly present. It is like the salt in water and the glue in colour. It is there, though not distinguishable as an individual entity. When the eye is properly directed, he will find that it is no other than himself. Now, a lot of these passages are very cryptic. They're very paradoxical. That is very true of Zen. Zen is not about learning intellectual information. It's not about gathering knowledge. Zen does not like that. It's about direct experience of the truth. That's all that they care about. They do not care about conceptualizing and making fantastical models and theories about the world. They want direct experience of reality. That is the only thing that matters to this tradition.
I fully experienced that.
Huh?
I fully experienced how you can come up with hundreds of ideas in order to try to improve the situation at hand, and then the truth is that this simple thing was just there the entire time.
Yes.
It just went open to it.
Yes. So exactly. So one finds that the ox is there. It's always been there. It's known to never be something that was afar, but still noticeable at this point. We have not seen the full ox. And now he catches the ox. He's caught it. It is in his grasp. There is no side of the ox that he does not see. And this is what some people consider initial enlightenment. It is to truly realize one's own nature, not from afar. In seeing the ox, he is still at a distance. Now here, he has caught it. It is his. It is not something that he is still chasing after. It is what he is. And there's a knowingness in that. So he is no longer thinking about, where is this ox? Oh, maybe it's there. And I've seen some kind of truth. This is absolute certainty that one is the truth. One is consciousness. That it is never afar. It is a complete certainty of direct experience. And this is also denoted as stream entry in Buddhism. It's the first true stage of enlightenment. So one has caught the ox. But see how there is still a tussle. One has not got a harmonious relationship with the ox. The ox is still fighting back. And what that represents is that when this realization dawns in the body and in the mind, there is a lot of reorganization that has to happen. There is a lot of things that need to be reformatted, and attention and a reorganization, a trying to catch it and tame it, and to get consciousness or truth to work with the body and mind. So it's still not a tamed ox, but it's been caught. It's not going anywhere anymore. So there's no longer a fear that one will lose it, because you have spiritual experiences and you think, I will lose that, it will go. Here there is no fear that it will go, because it's been caught. Okay? So this one says, long lost in the wilderness, the boy has at last found the ox, and his hands are on him. But owing to the overwhelming pressure of the outside world, the ox is hard to keep under control. He constantly longs for the old sweet scented field. The wild nature is still unruly, and altogether refuses to be broken. If the ox herd wishes to see the ox completely in harmony with himself, he is surely to use the whip freely. He is surely to use the whip freely. So he still has to be practicing to train the mind to work with this realization that has dawned. The mind cannot instantly adjust to working in line with truth. When the truth or the realization of truth dawns, it's very shattering for the mind, and it has to learn how to interact with the mind and the body again. So the whip signifies practicing how to bring this realization into fullness. There is still a practice that needs to be done. There's still work to go. A lot of people at this stage think the work is done. I've caught the ox. But no, the ox is still wild. It's not integrated. It's not integrated mind-body experience. It's just realization. But still, most people on earth do not reach this point currently. But there are many people that do. Okay? So have a look at that one. And then we have herding the ox. Now what is noticeable about this one is that now the man walks, the ox herder walks, and the ox follows. The ox doesn't resist anymore. This understanding of consciousness or reality is beginning to work harmoniously with the mind and body. That there is a deep integration happening where this truth that has been realized is not abstract and separate, but it is becoming very tame, very disciplined at staying in line with this realization. Being in line with truth, never deviating from truth. And he still is watching him subtly. He will often be looking back to check the ox is still there. He's not completely able to be trusting the ox. An ox herder would still be cautious of their ox, even when they're tamed. If someone has a horse, you're never completely trusting. You have to still use caution. It's like that. So the individual in this state still has to practice some caution. They're not completely in line and devoted with truth. What it says for this one is when a thought moves, another follows, and then another, an endless train of thoughts is thus awakened. Through enlightenment, all this turns into truth, but falsehood asserts itself when confusion prevails. So there it says, falsehood asserts itself. That means is that this individual is still susceptible to falling off the mark, falling off the right action, being aligned all the time. So they're still fallible. They're a fallible being. They can mess up still, essentially. And it's a very interesting stage because one, as I said, is still, they may think they're home, they've herded the ox. And notice how in each stage, you never truly know what is next. And this, what it is like for our journey. We can never truly conceive of the next stage because it is outside of our awareness. But now, the one that has herded the ox, they can remember when they were not searching for the ox, when they saw the footprints, and so on and so on. But someone who has not experienced herding the ox can never know what it is like because they have not experienced it. So, the last bit says, things oppress us not because of an objective world, but because of a self-deceiving mind. Do not let the noose string loose, hold it tight, and allow no vacillation. So he's very close to his goal now, but yet again, still we have further to go. And finally, well, not finally, we're only on 6, but it feels final, doesn't it? Because he's joyfully playing a flute on top of the ox. And notice how he's even looking away from the ox. And it takes a lot of confidence to play a flute on an ox looking backwards. So it represents his complete faith in truth. There's no doubt anymore because he's in complete harmony. He plays the flute lovingly and with joy and knows that the ox will go exactly where it needs to go because their relationship is one. They are now one. They are not separate anymore. And you think, well, how can we go beyond that? But we will see that there is another step. So this one says, the struggle is over. The man is no more concerned with gain and loss. He hums a rustic tune of the woodman. He sings simple songs of the village boy, saddling himself on the ox's back. His eyes are fixed on things, not of the earth. Even if he is called, he will not turn his head. However enticed, he will no more be kept back. Even if he is called, he will not turn his head. There is no doubt about his own realization anymore. He has full awareness of his own state. In previous stages, one is not fully aware of their own realization or what that realization is. It's one thing to realize, but then to process in the mind what that realization is then when one is able to be going a step further. So I'll pass that one. This one's very good. The ox forgotten, leaving the man alone. The ox was just a construct. We started with the man, the ox herder, and we obviously end with the ox herder. And it is the realization that there was never any separate reality. So at this point, one does not even know what enlightenment is anymore, because it knows that it doesn't even actually exist, because there was never anything other than it. So it's complete oneness, no separation, not me and the full realization of truth. There's just full realization of truth. So this one says the dharmas are one and the ox is symbolic. just symbolic. When we say consciousness or God or truth or whatever is the highest thing we can conceive of, it is always a construct. The only way we could ever speak purely about truth is if we are silent. There's no other way. So here, there is silence because there's only the ox herder left. And he's looking out on the sunset. He is at home in his little cabin. He's finally home and at peace. When you know that what you need is not the snare or set net, but the hare or fish, it is like gold separated from the dross. It is like moon rising out of the clouds. The one ray of light, serene and penetrating, shines even before days of creation. So it's very poetic. This is describing a very, very indescribable state. That's what poetry is. So there's poetic sections to express the splendor of this state, which is not actually a state, really. Now the last three are interesting because they are more about, actually, the three forms of enlightenment. And what I mean by that is the three ways enlightenment expresses itself. So actually, 7 is considered by many to be the last stage. And then the last 3 are there to show you the purpose or the meaning of this realization, what it is, to understand the fullness of what it is about. So here we just have emptiness. And this is to say that the nature of enlightenment is empty. That it is empty of any form. There is nothing there in truth. Nothing is actually there in truth. Very simple in words, but the experience of this is very different. Okay, we can talk about emptiness and the fact that there's nothing there, but it's very different to have an experience of it. So it says here, all confusion is set aside and serenity alone prevails. Even the idea of holiness does not obtain. He does not linger about where the Buddha is, and as to where there is no Buddha, he speedily passes by. When there exists no form of dualism, even a 1,000-eyed one fails to detect a loophole. A holiness before which birds offer flowers is but a farce. So this emptiness is worth more than any type of thing one can find in form. It is more than any conceptual divinity you can construct. It is actually emptiness that is always greater. Not emptiness as in a negativity, but emptiness as in absence. Absence of a self. Absence of a separative person being in an experience. So that is our first facet of enlightenment, that enlightenment is empty. It is empty of quality, it's empty of substance, because the nature of reality is not a thing. So there's nothing there in reality, but there's just an appearance of things. This interaction is happening. There is something, but yet the essence of it is nothing. Where is it? Where are these words? Where are your thoughts? Show them to me. You can't. This is emptiness. Then we have this one, which says, returning to the origin, back to the source. Now, instead of emptiness, it is that the nature of enlightenment is also form. So it is the formless, the emptiness, and yet it is this world. It is this very reality in front of you. This one here, not an abstract reality of consciousness that is far away, but one that is directly here on this earth in your present moment experience. This body, this mind, this world is of that same nature as the emptiness. These are not separate realities. They are three facets of one reality. It is empty and it is full. It is beyond the world and it is of the world. So this one says, from the very beginning, pure and immaculate, the man has never been affected by defilement. He watches the growth of things while himself abiding in the immovable serenity of non-assertion. He does not identify himself with the Maya-like transformations, which is like illusory-like transformations that are going on about him, nor has he any use of himself. The waters are blue, the mountains are green. Sitting alone, he observes things undergoing changes. So it says the waters are blue, the mountains are green. Such a simple statement because it points to the simplicity of this experience. Not to abstract and say, well, this grass is some fanciful idea that I create in my mind, but it is just grass. It is just grass. It is what it is. It's not some different reality. It is just full and complete as it is, as ordinary grass, ordinary you, ordinary mind. Not some special state, but ordinary state. So have a look at that one. And finally, we have entering the city with bliss bestowing hands. So this is the third facet, the third aspect of enlightenment, is talking about its purpose. Why is there this journey? Why do we do this? It is because it is to be able to share this reality with other people. The joy of sharing it, for the joy of the journey itself. To allow people to go on this ride and to experience the fullness of what they are. And so you can see the man here has a big belly, and the Buddha sometimes is represented with a big belly because he is a chuckling Buddha. He's big, he's laughing, he's giant because he's bigger than everything, and he's full of laughter for the cosmic joke, the fact that everything that he was looking for, everything that he wanted, was already exactly where he was. And so the only thing left to do is to go and show other people that reality. There is nothing left to do at this stage other than help other people to realize it. One has no other interest in their life. And everything they do, whether it's from cooking, cleaning, playing music, is an expression of this. It's not about being a spiritual teacher. This person is not a spiritual teacher. He is the ordinary man walking through the village with a robe on and a lantern. He is not some special man. He is the ordinary man, because it is only the ordinary man who can realize his truth. It's not about being special. It's about being completely ordinary. You don't want to be anyone else because there's no need to be anyone else. So this one says, his thatched cottage gate is closed, and even the wisest know him not. No glimpses of his inner life are to be caught, for he goes on his own way without following the steps of the ancient sages. He does not follow the steps of the ancient sages. He's not interested in following the teachings of the Buddha. He has become the Buddha. He doesn't need any external authority to teach because he is his own authority. There is no other being in the universe other than him. So his life is an expression of that, and he has complete faith in that. Carrying a gowd, he goes out into the market. Leaning against the staff, he comes home. He is found in company with wine bibbers and butchers. He and they are all converted into Buddhas. So he's with wine bibbers and butchers, regular people, and he notices that they are all converted into Buddhas. So his realization is the realization that everyone is the same reality that he is. So his enlightenment is no longer special. He does not consider himself to be special in any way because he knows that everyone is exactly the same reality. He doesn't think that he is higher or greater than, because that would signify some kind of duality, some separation. He knows utterly, completely, that everyone is an expression of himself. And so there is unconditional love for all beings. This is an immovable place of unconditional love, because when one looks in another's eyes, There is only that being looking back at them. So you can have a look at that one, the last one. So that is the 10 Zen Ox Herding pictures. And yet again, remember, it's just a construct. It's just a way to try and express that which cannot be expressed. And as I've said, poetry, music, all forms of art and creativity do the same job. They're speaking the same truth. The truth that is in these diagrams is the same truth that is in a song that you love dearly, that you poured your heart into. It's the same as a poem written with a devotion to truth, or art with the highest visionary mind possible. Whatever you pursue with complete devotion, if you completely devote yourself to it, you will find your way back to yourself. And it's your path, your vehicle in this life is different to everyone else. And you have to honor what your path is. Not everyone's journey is the same. It just follows these archetypal stages, these archetypal phases. And I hope that you found some value in them, and that they possibly provoked curiosity and allowed you to think, or maybe you didn't think the whole time, and that's lovely as well. So yeah, I'm more than happy to open up a discussion about it, and just, you're more than welcome to share how you related to some of the ideas, what did it mean for you, and if you have any questions. But yeah, just to open the floor up and get some interesting conversations going would be really nice.